What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I have been running into a lot of dilemmas, and I've been tinkering with Project Blueberry for the last day or so now. So in the previous video, we installed the Max Pinion Rod GT3582R Turbo with the eBay cast manifold and the Sidewinder adapter that I welded up a few months ago. I spent a day trying to puzzle a bunch of stuff that I had lying around to see if I can make something work with the 4-bolt discharge on the turbo. I think I kind of figured out a route that I'm going to be going with. I have 3 flanges that are the same inner and outer diameter and a clamp to go along with that. So I think I'm able to convert the turbo into a full V-band setup. I've already pulled the turbo manifold off the car right here, and I was going to change the setup, but I decided that I'm just going to make do with what I have. So this is actually going to go back onto the car, and the modification that we need to do is actually on the turbo. So let's go ahead and get this thing bolted back up. Make sure the gasket is still in here. So this right here is the Max Pinion Rod GT3582R Turbo, and the original back housing is a 4-bolt design. I do not have a 4-bolt flange to make a downpipe, and I also don't want to run a 4-bolt because of how precise it has to be to install and all that. With the V-band, you get a little bit of leeway, a little bit of flex, and I want to convert this over to a V-band. Now, I did mention that I did have a V-band housing, except this is a 63 and not an 82 or 83. It's actually a much smaller housing, and I don't want to deal with like super early spool when I'm driving. So I was going to swap over to this housing because it does have V-band on it with the discharge flange from an old downpipe that I chopped off. Instead, I was piecing again yesterday. I was piecing together what I had, and I had these V-bands here. Probably not going to use this one because I had cut it super crooked for some reason, but I do have this nice clean one and this part of a downpipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lob off this one, and I'm going to take this and weld it onto the original MXR back housing like so, and convert this over to V-band, but obviously much shorter down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and swap these housing back together. This one has the V-band that I was originally going to run, but I don't have a T4 flange. This is a T4, this is a T3. So I'm going to go ahead and swap this over, and then we'll stick it into the car to see where everything lands and know where I need to cut to add the V-band on. Turbo's back on the manifold, and I just want to show you guys really quickly with the eBay cast with the Sidewinder adapter. There's a lot of space for a downpipe to go right through. Sorry for the glare, but a lot of room for downpipe. We are going to be heat wrapping the downpipe as well too, because my fuel filter is on the firewall, and I want to ensure that we're not going to like project too much heat towards it. By the looks of it, the discharge for the turbo is not that far out like I had thought it was. I could literally just cut off where this flange stops right here and just add on the V-band and just make a really tight 90 to kind of shoot the downpipe closer to the manifold, away from the fuel, and then straight down. So all right guys, so we have the V-band welded onto the exhaust housing, and I actually did this like 35 minutes ago maybe, and I just had the other V-band side clamped on, so that way when this cools down, this is not going to get all warped. So if you look, fully welded all the way through, looking freaking awesome. And I'm gonna go ahead and just get this part of the turbo on the manifold, and then we can go and figure out our downpipe situation. I don't need the compressor front half of it now because it's gonna come off probably a couple more times before everything's finalized. Plus, I don't have all the bolts anyways. So yeah, let's go ahead and put this back on the manifold. Houston, we have a problem. So I just went through my box where I had a bunch of like 3-inch 90s and 45s and even a couple of straights, but all of them are gone. These are all 2.5s, and obviously our downpipe is going to be 3, and I don't have any material to continue making a downpipe tonight. That kind of sucks. I did plan to at least make the top half of the downpipe tonight, and we can't. So I'm gonna have to hit up the homie and see if I can grab some material tonight so we can continue tomorrow. But I think what I'm gonna do is, let me show you guys this real quick. This right here is a full race downpipe for a K20 Sidewinder, and I want to give a big shout out to Kel for giving me this full brand spanking new downpipe, because customer came in and got a KELLYBUILT downpipe instead. So he was like, if you can use this, go ahead and take it. So I have it, and I think I might finally have a use for it, except I do not want to modify the top portion of the downpipe. I feel like this may work with a different Sidewinder that I might be running soon. So I do not want to alter this just yet. Put that off to the side. Now the downpipe I may utilize. The downpipe is a 3-bolt flange that will bolt up to the current exhaust system on Blueberry. And it seems to be a little short because I just test fitted it now. And if I just cut here and extend this about 3 inches, this will go up past the subframe and kind of land in the engine bay. And then I can build the top half of the downpipe to match this one. And just so happens that I have the same flange as the one on the full race. And obviously this has its own V-band, so I can just kind of cut this off and use this top section for the top half of the downpipe. Again, I don't have material tonight to do that, so I guess we'll continue when I have parts. Today's hot, and I drove the KRX to go grab some material, and the car was sitting at 193 in traffic. Not bad. Normally this thing would be up in like 200s already, but KRX driving great, and I probably need to do an oil change soon because of the trip to SoCal. But big shout out to the homie Kel, because he had everything I need in stock, mostly in stock, because this right here is from his scrap bin. These are all brand new. We got a long 90, a short 90, a 90 cut into 245s, and all the tubing we're gonna need for the dump tube of the wastegate. So now we can finally build our downpipe and dump tube. So I did some test fitting last night with the full race downpipe, and I figured we can just use this now since it does have a 3-bolt flange on it. And when we do change the setup, we're going to be using this downpipe anyways. So let's just go ahead and configure it into place. So when I test fitted it last night, this kind of lined it up with the exhaust system. And then this right here hits the rack and pinion just a little bit. So what I think I need to do is extend probably over here. I'm probably going to extend this a little bit to clear the rack and pinion, because I don't want to cut back here. Granted, the badge is kind of in place, so I'm going to go ahead and just chop this up and get it mocked back into the car and figure out how much we need to extend it. So ideally, I want the downpipe somewhere right here. It is a 2-section, and I gotta figure out how to hold this up so I can go underneath the car to figure out how much I need to extend. But somewhere right here. Before, it was hitting right there. I took a coilover wrench and I taped the downpipe to it and wedged it between the rack and pinion and the half shaft to hold it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and go underneath the car. So after tinkering underneath the car, I kind of came to the conclusion that I needed to extend it about 1 inch to clear the rack and pinion with the V-band. And here it is tacked up. we are butted up on the downpipe, and I don't know where it lands up here, but I forgot my marker, so hopefully it clears and we can get this thing all welded up. So downpipe tacked on and bolted back up to the exhaust system. I'm hoping with the new turbo setup this isn't too close this way, but I mean, if we have to change it again later, we'll change it again later. For right now, this looks like a straight shot to the turbo. I just need a pie right there, and this downpipe should be ready to weld up. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but what I did was I took my measuring tape and I measured the top smallest gap, and then I measured underneath the biggest open gap, and then went to go trace it on a straight tubing and made my marks match from the 1/2 inch to the 1 1/8, and then I cut this pie that fits perfectly. Check it out. Check it out. That is so freaking awesome. Wow. I am proud of that. Let's weld it up. So we have the top section of the downpipe all welded up. I had to close the garage to prevent the wind from creating arc walk, and there was 2 areas that I kind of had some boo-boo welds, which is right here. You can't see it because of the GoPro, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, a lot of these welds look really good. A lot of these welds are questionable, but I know for a fact that all these bruise colors, I just don't have my post flow high enough. But nonetheless, we did full coverage all around, and I'm stoked. I'm stoked that we have this done, and the next thing we need to get into is the wastegate dump tube. Sheesh. Let's go. All right, let's put the wastegate on. So I have the wastegate installed. Don't mind the banjo fitting pointing towards the hood. I have the wastegate kind of like angled downward instead of directly to the firewall. I want the dump tube to travel with the downpipe, so I want to get it as close as possible, but not touching, obviously. And it's going to go all the way and curve down that way. I'm sorry for the sun glare because the bush is gone, but I wanted to shoot down right here and then straight down to the floor, open atmosphere. So I want to give a big shout out to the homie Robert, Sinister Robert, because he gave me this bag when I went to his house a little while ago actually, and it has a whole bunch of like header tubing, and there is a lot of like small little pieces that is a little bit bigger for the 44mm wastegate, and we have a couple of picks right here, right? A couple little bends. I had this one brand new from acerace.com, and yeah, so I have these bends here, and big shout out to Kel because he also had this in stock for the straight section of the dump tube. So I'm gonna go ahead and just mock up a few. You guys already know what it is, same ordeal as the downpipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and mock something up and see what we come up with. This may look funny to those who run pipes out the hood, but I can assure you guys this is what a dump tube looks like for a sidewinder to exit underneath the car. We fell into the night obviously, and I'm just gonna go ahead and weld this up because there is a few little more things that I want to do before we cap out today's project. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this welded up. So with the power of editing, bam, dump tube fully welded. So let's get this into the car. Bam, dump tube installed. Not permanently because everything still has to come back out. I'm gonna grab my flashlight and show you guys the dump tube where it exits underneath the car. So we have the dump tube going straight down, literally alongside the downpipe, and it passes the subframe, so all the fumes will dump straight to the floor, and when the car is moving, the wind will, you know, kind of scoop up the gas away from the engine bay. So the dump tube done, downpipe done, and again everything's going to come back out because I am going to be heat wrapping the dump tube and the downpipe since it is really close to the fuel filter. I mean, not really that close, we have a good 3-finger gap, but I want to wrap it up just to reflect heat away from the filter and the brake lines obviously. So all this is going to come back out when my titanium DEI wrap shows up. It was supposed to be here yesterday, but I don't know why it didn't show up, but nonetheless easy to do. All the stuff comes off easily because V-band, and what I want to do right now is, I mean, I don't have to put the turbo back on right now because I still need to figure out feed line and return line system, which I don't know if I have, but I'm sure I do somewhere. I guess we can just toss it on for shiz and giggles just to get a look with the manifold and max pinion rod turbo with all the hot parts in place as well, because I think it looks pretty cool, right? I mean, do you guys think it looks cool having a turbo strapped to Project Blueberry? Check it out. Down. I think the titanium wrap will look good with the gold compressor wheel because titanium kind of has that yellowish goldish color, and it's a lot better than the fiberglass heat wrap version because that thing gets all over your skin and it is very irritating. So the wastegate is pointing up right now because I just threw it on. I didn't know which position it was going to sit in, but we are going to run one vacuum to the bottom to the turbo here. Again, we don't need to hook it up right now, and the other one's going to stay open for when I decide to put a boost controller on it. The car's front wheel drive, so that vacuum setup right there is going to be for the max solenoid, which I have in the storage unit. And this car's front wheel drive, like I said, it's going to need the boost by gear setup just so we don't like break tires loose all day. This is loose. Fabrication stuff obviously takes a lot of time, and the downpipe and dump tube took most of my time today, but nonetheless we made a ton of progress. Before we shut out this video, I went to the PO box before picking up material today, and this thing was at my PO box. It is a 4 cubic foot steel utility cart by Gorilla Carts, and there is a note on the bottom. It says here, Dana, thank you for everything you do. Here's a small token of my appreciation. May this help you on your junkyard hunt in the near future. This was gifted to me from Anthony D, and I appreciate you so much, man. I can't believe this thing was sitting at the PO box. They literally called me and said, hey, I need you to come to this window because the item is big. And I'm like, what? And then when they showed me this, I was like, wow. Fred, I'm gonna need your help to make a motorized cart, bro, because we got one now. Big shout out Anthony, man. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. So I am going to wrap up the video right now, guys. I hope you enjoy the hot part fabrication for Project Blueberry's turbo kit. And if you guys did, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around to see the first startup with the Max P & Rod GT3582R Turbo, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.